All right. Welcome to another episode of Leave It on the Line. I'm your host, Chef Jo-Jo Doyle, founder and owner of Extreme Culinary Outfitters, the brand that brings you Leave It on the Line and the Shift Drink series. We are the brand that understands all your struggles. We've been doing this a long time. E.C.O has been around since 2010. We want to be the shirt that is on your back when you go out and underneath your coat when you go to work. And this series has actually been one of the most favorite things that I've started so far, is where we really get to talk to chefs who live it every day. And, you know, we were just talking to tonight's guest, Hector Zamora, right?
Yes,
Got
sir.
it. That's
Yes,
awesome. Hector and I, the way this works is Hector has been elected to be on the show from another chef that we previously had on. Carlos, thank you. I'm so excited about this. I just recently finished a podcast or a shift drink where I listed like 10 things that I like about being a chef, you know.
Okay.
And I kept it to 10 because I think being a chef sometimes gets the bad rap or the martyr, right? You know, it's
For
like,
sure.
oh, I work 100 hours and
Yeah.
everybody, you know, I'm always working. And I was like, you know what? I want to focus a little bit more on the positive this 2018, especially with everything we've got going on for our family. And I said, you know, my favorite thing about what we do is the people. 100%. Like
Definitely.
you want to, like everybody knows what we do and sacrifice to do this. And I think if you really ask for help from somebody in this business, they will do it. So without further ado, cheers, Hector. Let's
Cheers.
welcome to Leave It on the Line.
Thank you very much.
So now, we just recently had Carlos on from Lost Car Chef Coats, Chef Apparel. And Carlos and I go way back. I think he and I met shortly after he started the company. He was in the parking lot giving me one of the best chef coats I've ever worn, right?
Yes, sir.
And he and I have done, you know, ins and outs of different business ventures, I guess, together. Like
Okay.
he's been in Arizona and, you know, we followed him and we did a show with him there, and then we were next to him doing some Food Fanatic shows. And, you know, we've created a very good friendship. And I said, okay, so now that you've been on, and thank you for, you know, coming on, who would you like to see on Leave It on the Line? And I tell you, it literally took him maybe 4 seconds. He was like,
Appreciate that.
Hector Zamora. And I'm like, will he do it? And he's like, yeah, I'll call him.
Yeah. That's him.
And he's like, and he sent the text and it was on. So now, are you originally from California?
Yeah, got raised out here. I was born in Mexico. Came out here when I was about 1 year old.
Okay.
Got raised in North Hollywood, the Valley.
The Valley.
The Valley.
Okay. So what's the Valley like?
It's living in North Hollywood is good because you have Hollywood just right over the hill.
Okay.
Versus when you live deeper in the valley, that's, you know, it's a little drive. But as far as there, it was primarily Hispanics.
Okay.
Primarily Hispanics. So it was first generation families, definitely.
Wow.
But fun.
Really?
Fun.
So like everybody
sure.
knew where everybody came from. Everybody knew who was who. And I think that's, I mean, I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, and in like a lower middle class type neighborhood, you know, and everybody knew everybody, you know,
Small
and their
town.
business, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like all the kids hung out, and you know, you'd be getting in a fight one day, next day you'd be best friends, and it was always
You had
fun.
no other choice, right?
Yeah, no, you didn't. I mean, like it was, you know, it had its moments, right?
Yeah,
There's everybody has their rough patch, I guess, and I think that it was a good childhood. I mean, would you say that you had a pretty decent childhood, or was it
I
kind
had a
of
good and a fun childhood for sure.
okay? Good.
For sure.
Now, how did you? Did you always know that you wanted to be a chef?
No, definitely not. Growing up, my mom always cooked. She would stay home and she cooked. So every time I'd come home from school,
Mm-hmm.
she'd have fresh meals every day.
Oh.
And just the smell of your home smelling like
So now, when she would cook, she would like just get down all day. So like, we got
Pretty
fresh
much.
tortillas in the house and like
sometimes,
beans
flour.
working. Oh.
She's from Sonora. That's where we're from, Sonora.
Okay.
And that's where those big flour tortillas come out. They're very thin.
The
It's
thin ones.
Delicious.
Okay.
Buttery, Yep.
So now, do you make those now?
I do not. She does.
She does.
Yeah, she
Okay.
does. She does.
Do you know how to make
I
them?
do
Did
know
you?
how to make them. But it's I can't get that mom touch. I'd rather have her make them for me. There's some mom
You know,
touch,
it's like
the mom touch.
you know, I can make my grandmother's macaroni and cheese, and then my mom can make I can make it, but it always tastes better than when moms make it. You know what you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just like God,
So there's no
perfect.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't beat that. Now, how long have you been cooking?
I started when I was 17. I just turned 30. So about 12, 13 years, yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, I was 17 when I graduated high school, and then Right. I took 2 weeks off, and then school started.
Okay, so when you got out of high school, you took 2 weeks off, and school started for what?
Culinary school.
You went straight into culinary school. So when did you know?
Senior year.
Senior year, you're like, I just want to be a chef.
I didn't know what else to do, and I don't like sitting at a desk and I can't.
Now, were you a good student in high school?
Not the best, definitely not the best.
Oh yeah, I was
disciplined.
Horrible student.
Disciplined because of my dad,
right?
But I wasn't really good.
Dude, I mean, I know my kids. It was by the skin of my teeth. I got out of high school, and I was in college forever. Yeah, it was really bad.
I took the same class every summer school because I could not pass it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in summer school.
Yeah, it was, but I was hands on for sure.
Yeah,
but sit down and do books, I can't do that.
I found out I would go to summer school and I found out and I could do all the work in a couple of weeks and be done. So they'd let you work at your own pace, and I don't know if I've told this story before or not, but you would go in on a Monday and they'd be like, "Oh, let's see what you failed," and "Oh, you failed these math factors, so you need to do those." So they're like, "If you take all these tests, you'll be done. Once you pass those tests, you're done."
You're done.
So
and you avoid all those.
So I avoided a lot of work during the school year.
Definitely.
And then I would go to summer school, and I'd have 2 weeks, and I'd go in and it was so bad. I'd take a test, and you needed a 74 to pass. I'd get a 76, and they're like, "Oh, don't you want to take that again?" No, we're good. Where's the next one?
Let's go.
Let's get on that next one, and then I'd be out.
Get them done.
So yeah, I spent a mega amount of time. That was my plan, I guess. I'm such a. I wasted some time.
Waste one whole semester to make them up in 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Now, I wouldn't say that you wanted to hang out with the kids that were in the summer school program. You kind of had to it was a little. The guy was a little kid with this really big head strapped to some tiny shoulders. So you had to kind of work your way around with all the guys that were there. It was definitely, and everybody would come in, and the teacher definitely was super not interested in being there. It was adult ed, and it was wild. Now you went straight into culinary school. What culinary school did you go to?
Pasadena, Le Cordon Bleu.
Le Cordon Bleu. Yeah, now I actually. When it was open, I hired when I first came out. I went some students. That was a really nice campus.
Really nice campus.
And now, what year was that for you?
05.
05.
So it was before, we still had to go to South Pass for the baking.
Okay. Classes. So what did you get? Associate's degree or bachelor's degree?
Associate.
Oh, that's right, because they only had the AS, right? Yeah. I think that school was. I mean, in the beginning, they were trying to do it right, and there was such a demand. Now, do you feel how many people do you know that went to that school with you that are still cooking?
I don't know, maybe 20 tops.
Yeah,
tops.
I think that.
And there was 25 per chef, so about 50 per lab.
And you're just going through your head right now. You're like, I think I remember that guy. He's still cooking. He's still cooking. Yeah. She's still cooking.
It's not a lot though, compared to how many there were. Out of the whole class.
Yeah,
not a lot.
No,
not a lot. Small percentage, definitely.
Yeah. Are you glad you went to culinary school?
Yeah.
Are you still paying for it?
No. My dad, luckily, shout out to my dad.
Dad, give you a shout out right now because I'm still paying my student loans right now.
You still are.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We I am with a family of 4 kids. There's I get the loan payment down as small as I can, and then I just keep every month. We just keep on keeping on.
Ending, right?
It's been an interesting time to pay for it. I mean, I don't think I could have gotten where I am today without it. Okay. For sure. Because I think some of the interview, to get past some of the HR stuff, where people maybe have never worked in a kitchen and they kind of know, but they're the human resources officer, so they're just kind of human resources manager. I said officer, like the police. They kind of know, but they really, they don't. So when they're like, you got a degree, boom, that puts you ahead. It's hard.
Good paper to have,
Yeah, I think it helps in the long run. It does not help the first 5 years.
I'll tell you what, most of the stuff that I've learned have been in the industry.
Yes, of course, right? Definitely
95%, just like everybody else. It's just a good paper to have.
It's a good paper to have when you need it. Yes.
At least trained. It's up to you if you followed that, but at least you've been trained.
Now, would you go back to culinary school?
You know what? I think I would.
Okay,
I would.
that's totally fair. Did you have a good time?
I had a good time. I had a good time.
Yeah,
But it was just so much, like you were telling me earlier. You don't remember all those smells. You don't. All those ingredients. You don't, because you're so busy doing so much other stuff that
yeah,
it's like, damn. You just remember right now. You made me go memory lane. I was like, damn. I remember when I knew everything, and the smell and the feel.
Oh, dude.
Like, damn, memory.
yeah. It's like when you were being tested on it.
Yeah.
You're like you could name off like 12 derivatives of hollandaise.
For sure.
And you're just like. Now it's like, yeah, I know Bernays and like Foyat and and the people are like, what? It's like you should know it, but like if you're not knocking out a ton of different things with hollandaise or because it might not fit what your restaurant is, and 4 years down the road. If you're not going back and looking at it, it's kind of like speaking another language, right?
Yeah, you don't remember it.
You don't remember it.
No.
And I think that's what helped me in the beginning was like having that vocabulary for sure.
Yeah, because you could you could talk it,
Talking it is the tough part. There's two things. One, there's a certain way that you feel comfortable when you're talking. Like I just met you like 20 minutes ago, and
sure.
we could talk forever, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There's a connection of people that really sling in the business, and then there's the guys that always know or like use terms, and you're like, what the hell is he talking about? And then you're like, oh yeah, okay, you're saying this for that. That happens to me sometimes, where like I'll go to a restaurant and they'll have a term on the menu, and everybody's going, so what the hell is that? I'm like,
they're asking you everything.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know what he's trying to say with this, and it's like, oh, once I see it, I'm like, oh,
it's that, yeah.
It's that, and. It's because it's not what I do anymore. Like in that level, I'm not down and I'm like, I gotta get back to that. And B, a lot of times dudes can just like bullshit you about how much they know and how much they don't know. But then when you put them on the line or you put them in a banquet, it's like, where you at?
Yep.
What happened?
Exactly. That happens more often than not.
I would agree with that.
That happens more often than not.
Now you've been chefing almost your whole adult life.
Yeah, 17.
That's straight 17, up like.
And then I had my side jobs. I've worked at liquor stores, tire shops with my dad, construction.
Okay, what did you out of all of your favorite jobs, I guess, if you will, that wasn't cooking? What would you do if you couldn't cook anymore?
I'd probably get into like the construction business.
Yeah,
for sure.
Why?
Hands-on.
Hands-on. Like to build it.
Yeah. Maybe not the aspect of actually moving the rock.
Yeah.
But being involved with building something or knocking it down or machinery, like that. That
would be, I like that. I think that I like the idea of creating something.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think if you cook long enough, I think that's there's a fulfillment there that you have to always constantly
create.
Now, as far as you were in school, what was it the first time that you found yourself in school just like doing really well?
You know what? And even in culinary school, all my labs, I was on point.
Okay.
A's, B's, A, B's. But when it came down to the academics part of it, I always tend to slack. And it was just, I couldn't focus. Later down the line, as I grew older, that started fading away. And I got, I was able to focus on books and writing. But before that, it was always tough. But hands-on, I was always really good at it.
Once you do something once or twice, you're good.
That's it, yeah.
But when it came to reading the English book, maybe not so much, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, like I felt like when I was working.
Even in math, to be honest, I wasn't. But it was later down my career that I was like, if I want money, I need to know the math.
That is the. No one told you that coming in. Do you know what I mean? No. They're like, and here's one thing. And like, I recently posted an article on our Facebook page, and it was like, chefs are struggling to get good help from the culinary schools, right? And they're like, well, they don't know how to cook, and it's a waste of money. And you shouldn't tell them that they're going to be chefs when they walk out. I have to say that when I signed up for school, they didn't say you're going to be a chef when you're done. I know that a lot of other schools probably gave you that speech, right? Yeah. But the chef I talked to is like, you're going to know how to work in a kitchen. You're going to know how to make basic stuff, but it's going to take you a while. And I think it's all about like the chefs who are teaching. Yeah. But they definitely did not focus on as much food cost and ordering and inventory.
The important part about it. The other half.
The half that gets you the money.
Exactly.
The one that gets you the salary.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge letdown for me, right? Because I had to teach myself.
Even in school, they don't show you that either, though.
No. When I went to college,
even in high school or college, nowhere. They
food cost.
No, just money in general.
Oh, how to balance money, right?
Exactly. They don't. It's not in the system. So
no, it should be. Don't you think?
Of course.
Like how to balance a checkbook. I remember.
Imagine if you knew what
economics. You're 30, so I'm 43. Okay. I had to take an economics class in high school, and we had to balance a checkbook, and like pay bills. And they told you how to put money in an account and write a check. But like, did they teach you how to budget? No, for sure. Never.
They show you how to spend it.
Yeah. Nowadays, that stuff, I don't think, I definitely know it's not now. And I only took one food accounting, or maybe 2 accounting classes to get the bachelor's degree. I had taken several others, but for the cost side, for that food cost, because I was a line cook forever, right? And you're like, you thought that all you had to do was know how to cook. And that was going to get you to be the best chef ever, right? No.
You need the numbers.
The numbers is what jacked me up a little bit. And it took me a while to get my arms around that level. Did you struggle with that?
I struggled a little bit. Yeah, I think I found the right formula that kind of broke it down easy. But it was a little difficult at first, for sure.
What's the toughest thing that you find about our job that we do, or that your job where you're at now? Now, where are you currently a chef?
At Avenue of the Arts Hotel, Silver Trumpet Restaurant.
Okay.
Right
so
how many
in Costa Mesa? How many seats is that?
That's like 300.
300. Nice, a big size.
But that's including the bar too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then do you guys do like a lot of banquets and weddings?
We do
and
a lot
stuff?
of banquets, yeah.
Tons of weddings and like
weddings, corporate.
Okay.
Non-stop.
So yeah, like tonight you're like, oh, let's shoot at 9, and then it was like, oh, VIP, I'll be there at 9:30, and that's like, we're starting at 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah. VIP at 9 when most people are getting ready to go to sleep.
Did you know it was coming in, or did it
was last minute?
It was a pop up.
Yeah,
you want another? You want another?
Yeah, I took another one.
Okay. Yeah, no, there's right down there by you. Yeah, we got. No, that's your only job. Now, this is your favorite beer, correct? One of your favorite? The Franziskaner Premium Weiss Bier. It is actually really good. I got the opener on this side. So, you start it straight out of. What was Hector like in senior year of high school that made his decision he's going to be a chef? What clicked for you that said, "Oh, I want to be a chef"?
I didn't want to go to a community college.
Boom, that's it.
I did not want to go to community college. So then I looked into a culinary program at a Mission College in San Fernando. And then I went on a tour to Le Cordon Bleu, and what sold me was the guys are like, do you want to learn from a community college where there's many classes, or from a school that's strictly culinary? You know, that was their selling point, and they got me.
So
they got me.
What was your favorite class?
Production.
Yeah.
Production was fun.
Now, what did you do in production? Did you go over like larger parties, or
it was just like bulk, and it was just bulk for the cafeteria. And then when we were in, thank you.
You're welcome.
At the restaurant, the fine dining restaurant, that was also fun. But it was busier. It was busier at the production.
There you go.
Busier in the production kitchen, so it was.
My favorite was, I think, one of my favorite class. I had so many. The instructors were so awesome. My first class was production, where we fed everybody in the cafeteria.
Okay.
And there's 2 guys that I'm still friends with. I haven't talked to Golan in a while, but Ronald, James, and I mentioned him on the podcast. Like when we talk, I always talk about him. But like I sat down. There's 3 guys. There was Golan, John, and Ronald, and myself. And for some reason, we were in the production class. Okay. And like in the first morning we went in, and I went straight in for labs. So I didn't do any type of, I had enough transfer credits.
Okay.
And we went straight in, and the guy, like, he wrote out a menu on the board. And as I knock your camera, I said, he wrote out a menu on the board, and then he went over like 5 terms. And I had never worked in a restaurant. Did you ever work in a restaurant before you started culinary school?
Never.
Oh my God, we're walking in the same shoes right now.
Never. Just let's go.
Let's do this. And I was like, oh my God, what is he talking about? And he's like, I'm going to tell you about how to make a slurry. And it's, you know, half water, half cornstarch. And in my head, I'm like, what the hell is cornstarch? I'm like freaking out. And then we go in the kitchen, and then we knocked out lunch and it was Chef Lacostra. And we knocked out lunch for like the school, because it was like the cafeteria side. So one part of the school ate in the and then the 2 dining rooms, because there was 2 dining rooms when I was there. And it was like this side had 2 kitchens, and then this side had 2 kitchens.
Okay.
And we were at the cafeteria where anybody could walk up. You could order burgers and, you know, like tenders or fries, or you could order off what we prepared in the back.
Okay.
So it'd be like lasagna or mashed potatoes or gravy. But like, dude,
special.
Yeah, like it was the menu of the day, and he wrote it down. And I was cooking in the first, like, I guess we listened to the guy talk for like 45 minutes or an hour, and then it was like, get to work.
Let's go.
And it was the scariest damn thing ever.
Yeah, no idea what you were doing.
Oh, it was totally
fucking lost.
Lost. No idea.
Shit.
Like, I just got a knife, and like in my family, everybody used like a little, like I could fillet a fish. I grew up on a river or something, right? You know, like I grew up fishing, but I'm good there. Yeah. But you give me a big ass, like I had an 8-inch chef knife, or, you know, or that thing was, you know, like I was like, oh my God, this is a sword. Huge. You know, so that's kind of like how. Now, was it kind of freaky for you in that way, or are you like, God, I'm finally home?
It was no, definitely not home. Definitely not.
How long did it take for you to find like this is the shit?
A couple of years. When I realized, okay, it's either gonna be my friends and all the relationships I have, or am I gonna focus on my career? Since my dad did pay, I felt bad, you know. I didn't want to.
So did your dad just go, okay, you're doing this, and
No. He was like, what do you want to do? I got it. I'll back you. And
wow.
Yeah. Luckily, thank God. But
now, what's your dad's name?
David,
thank you very much.
David.
That is outstanding. I wish, I mean.
For sure. So then he just wanted me in school. He didn't care
get
what
a degree, right? Because, okay, so David and your mother.
My mom.
What's your mom's name?
Maria.
Okay, so David and Maria came over from Mexico. Sonora? Where?
My dad Nayarit, my mom Sonora.
So
North and like southern Mexico.
Okay, so then they came here, and you were 1.
I was 1.
And then you were in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then you went to high school, and then he had money to pay for you to go to Le Cordon Bleu.
Yeah, he worked.
Your dad's a hustler, brother.
Hustler.
That is amazing.
Hustler, yeah. So it was it's a blessing that I was able to just take that without having to pay a loan for 30 years, 40 years, whatever it might be.
20 right now. 20. I'm doing the math. Almost 20 minutes. Almost 20. I had to defer a couple of times. We bought a house, and then we had a kid, and then we had another kid. Now,
life happened, right?
What was the first place? Yeah, life happened for sure.
Yeah.
What was the first place you started working when you got out of school?
It was at the Jonathan Club. It's a beach club.
What was that? Beach club?
Beach club in Santa Monica. That's where I first started working my 40 hours, let's say. I always had 2 or 3 like catering jobs.
Okay.
Like staffing.
But
through
you're
school.
steady. But you're steady.
But I was, yeah.
Yeah, everybody has a steady.
Yeah.
You got a steady, and then you get a couple of side hustles, right?
Because it's not enough, because you're coming out of school thinking you're going to be a chef, but in reality, you need...
How was the slap down when you first came out? You're like, I'm going to run this place. And they're like, no, you're going to run the salad station.
Luckily, my attitude, I've always been willing to learn.
Mm-hmm. Bring this up a little bit.
Okay.
No, you're good. Just there you go.
I've always been willing to learn, so I always listen, and I always said, "Yes, chef." You know, so I was never the big head, but I always thought like, "Damn, I'm a chef," but I was like, "Damn, I'm not a chef." You
right.
know? In reality, I was like,
I don't think I was not. Were you a nice chef, or were you a hard ass in the beginning?
I've never been a hard ass. I always I'll show you, and I expect you to do it right, and then I'll definitely discipline. But I'm not shouting. I'm not throwing pans.
I didn't throw pans, but
servers, yeah, they get under my skin. So with them, yeah.
What makes a server get under your skin the fastest?
Wrong tickets, sitting room tickets.
Like,
I'll tell you. Okay, so today, fuck, man. Somebody sent in a ticket that we have bacon dates, right? Bacon wrap dates and stuff with blue cheese.
Okay, yeah.
They sent a ticket in, bacon dates, and on the bottom, vegan, please.
And
I was like, what? That just. I got to the point where I was so mad that I just started laughing. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, how do you. Bacon dates.
How vegan? You gonna, okay, with blue cheese, how you gonna make it vegan? Like, are you just gonna give you a date? You want some dates on the plate
with some chipotle sauce, maybe?
That sounds delicious, right? And you're thinking to yourself,
that's like.
Now I have one question. Did the server come to the expo and talk to you?
Nope. That was
woo.
Exactly.
Woo.
Exactly.
I would have been woo.
Exactly.
Somebody's getting slapped. That is like if you.
So then 5 minutes later, maybe 10, she comes back and is like, "Where are the dates?" And I was like, "Well, we didn't make them there. We can't make them vegan." She said, "Oh, they still want them." We were all like, "What the fuck?"
How are you gonna? Okay, so we're no longer vegan.
No,
like,
exactly.
Oh no, don't worry about it. We're not vegan right now. Okay.
So
we just changed our mind.
You deal with that.
Oh,
you've dealt with that. It's part of what we do.
I do think that, but it's different. It's like for me, if the server would have come back immediately, we're good
For sure.
and they're like,
Come talk to me.
yeah, if you ring in something like that, but if you don't, what gets under my skin the most is quality of service, but most is menu knowledge.
For sure.
Like, and it's tough on us because we'll get new people in, like we'll get new servers in at different times of the season. And this has been my whole career. Like you get a new server and they're like, they ring in some salad dressing that was a standard at X restaurant that they worked at for 4 years. And it's like Thousand Island, they ring that in and you're like, I can make you Thousand Island. It's going to be like 15 minutes. and then they're like, well, what? Or, French dressing. And you're like, or blue cheese. I need blue cheese dressing. I'm like, I mean.
We don't have it. Hold on, though. We could make something happen.
I can make it, but you know that we don't have blue cheese, right? Like that's not on this menu. It's nowhere on the menu.
Or any menu.
or any menu. And they're like, well, don't you just have a jug of it somewhere? And I'm like, no, we don't. We don't use it. We don't use it. And it's like that type of stuff drives me super nuts because I don't think that I don't think it's right. I think if you're going to do something, please, know that menu.
Do it right.
I mean, please do it right.
Sell it to its full ability,
You have
Learn
to.
it,
Like when I started cooking in South Florida and you started cooking out here. And the biggest thing that I found out, the service level in any area that has a lot of tourists can bring these guys and girls that have been serving for their whole life.
For sure.
And when I started at the Intercontinental, and then I worked at these other places, and these people would come in and like, I'm a server. And, they were like, I'm going to be here for 6 months. This is how I make my money. And then I'm going to go up to New York, and that's where I'm going to be or the Hamptons. Yeah. And I'm going to make money there. Because I serve these restaurants. I come down. I know that I have 5 months here. And they were like, no. This goes here. And then, no, that's the first position. Everything should line up. And they had this, like, our dining room managers at school were very much in that same, like, everything lines up. Okay. And you're going to do this. And fine service dining was something to be proud of.
For sure.
And I was like, damn, that there's a difference between that and like, oh, table 47 wants chicken tenders and fries. Do you have ranch? There's a huge, there's a huge difference. And I think that for me is like, what
do you want to be here or not?
Like I love cooking. I know that you're a server or you're in the restaurant business. I want you to just love it just as much.
For sure.
And I think that's where. Is that a struggle? Do you think when you were coming up and you'd be like, damn, I just made $100 for the day. And then the server's like 80, 90, 180.
All
You know, and
throughout the career.
you're like, damn. All cash. Just, and you're like.
All the time. All the time.
And
Throughout my whole career. Fuck.
Like,
all the time.
You're like, ma'am, anybody got I got a 10 spot. Who wants to go get the 12
they've
pack?
only worked 4 hours.
Yeah, they came in at
all day.
All day. And you're like, but there's I love it. I love it. Yeah. The glory. Yeah. Now, do you
But we eat better than them.
Yeah, we get that. You get that steak,
you know?
right? You know, we always.
You eat better than them. I feel that's
still
the
to this day,
upside part of it.
I still to this day. I mean, I could stop and get a lunch anywhere. Mm-hmm. I don't, because like I'm still that line cook. Yeah. I'm still the guy that's like, no, I'm gonna go and have employee meal, because you know that's what I came up on. Yeah. You got your family meal, and family meal saved you from spending the $12 for dinner or for lunch.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
we just launched that at my job, and I go up there and I sit down and I eat.
Hell yeah.
I still do it.
I don't think it, I mean, I think if you work in a restaurant and you're a cook, you should get a free meal. Yeah. But I also think you should get a free drink too. But I'm from old school, right?
Yeah.
That's where we came up with shift drink.
Yeah. Okay.
For this, that was a whole shout out, because like we used to all the restaurants, when you were done, you'd punch out and then you'd go get your drink, because everybody got either a free beer, free glass of wine, or sometimes they do like liquor. You could get like a Jack and Coke, but it would be like
mostly beer, huh?
But most cooks drink beer. You know what I mean? Like we'd get our free shift drink, and then we'd all put in 5 or 8 or 10, and somebody would go get a 12 pack, and then they'd go get it while we start, or a case, and then we'd clean the kitchen.
For sure.
Then you drink your beer, and then you make your way home.
Yeah.
And you smell like garlic and fish and like hot meat, and then you and beer, and then you drive home.
That's it.
Now, so you finished culinary school, you got your first job at the beach club. What station did you work?
I was doing banquets.
Damn, you went straight into banquets.
I was doing banquets, just like prep banquets, peeling.
Okay.
Peeling.
What were you like? Did you have to do tournays?
No, nothing like that. I've never had to do that at any restaurant I've ever worked at.
Me either.
Thank God.
We just recently had Ducks and Tucks, and we did a Jessica Child menu. One table did. And they're like, I said, we're going to tournay the potatoes. And I'm like, God damn. I said, I get that knife out, get that bird's beak paring knife out. I could tournay a potato, but I could not do the flute of mushroom.
Okay.
Like I'd get 4 nice, beautiful lines, and then the next one would just go right into it. And I'm like, damn it.
Can't get it done.
I can't get it. And it then I was like, who's doing that anyway? I didn't push myself to know it, because I was like, no one does that anymore.
And nobody does, except.
Well, you know how cool it looks when it's done now? It's kind of like, I just watched a video guy doing the quenelle, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so absolutely simple. But when it's done right, for some reason, it just strikes a chord with me.
It looks beautiful.
Right?
Yes. It's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Set it on the plate, and you're like, I'm done. And you're like, you did that with 2 spoons?
Yeah.
So you were there, and you started in banquets, and you were peeling, prepping.
And then I ended up moving up to the appetizer stations for the banquet. So I'd set up outside and set up my station and send out hors d'oeuvres.
Okay.
That's what I did for a long time. Then they moved me up to brunch. So I was doing Saturday and Sunday brunch.
Okay, so did you work the omelet station?
I did work the omelet station.
How many burners did you have on your omelet station?
It was 8.
Shut up.
Yeah. 8.
How many people were for the brunch for? 600?
It was a country club.
Country
club.
You got your face kicked in.
Especially Sundays. We used to make those big bowls.
Yeah.
Of hollandaise.
Now, how did you make your hollandaise? Did you put it on a double boiler, or did you lay it? Because I had a guy that would put his on the fryer. He'd have the warmer on. He'd have the oil at 100 or 150 or 200, and he'd lay his bowl in the fryer, and he'd make it in the fryer, on the fryer. That was his double boiler. He's like, this is the way I do it. And I'm
no,
like,
that's weird.
every time I tried it, I burned the shit out of it.
Yeah,
I have to do a double boiler and mess
Double
with the
boiler,
water.
for sure. That's what I do.
Do you add a
Well,
little?
that's what we did, still, and we still do.
I have to. A hand blender makes your life so much better sometimes.
But
nowadays.
I have to make it by hand.
Nice. It's so much better.
They still make it by hand.
Do you use clarified butter or you just melt the butter?
No, clarified butter.
Doing it right.
Yep.
Doing it
Clarified
right,
butter.
in my opinion. Because I had a guy who's my supervisor in Miami, and he did it with, he'd bring the butter up hot.
Okay.
And he said, this is the Marriott way. And he would take it and he would put like the eggs, whole eggs in the thing, and he'd add the butter and just with the hand blender. And I was like, oh. And he's like, I said, you didn't even clarify the butter? No, you don't need to do that. I'm like, oh, okay. Interesting. You know,
No.
everybody
How did it come out?
I mean, it was butter and egg, you know, with some salt. It wasn't like, it wasn't the best, but I guess it was hollandaise.
It was Holland. Yeah.
You know, like after your 50th, you know, eggs Benny, and you're in I've used it. I've made it that way in a pinch. Yeah, like on a fucking
quick.
Oh God, you get your ass handed to you. Like you're like, okay, let's do eggs Benny, and you're like, no, it's gonna be a pain in the ass, and then you do it anyway because you're like, everybody likes it
For sure.
and then like some
No-brainer right there.
Yeah, and then some asshole just like breaks the hollandaise, and you like come around the corner, and he's got like cottage cheese, and you're like, oh my God,
Mayo.
yeah, it's like mayonnaise, and and then you're like, okay, I have 36 tickets in the window that all need hollandaise on them.
What are you gonna do?
Or you shoe make it, and you like punt, and then you get mad, and then you're like, don't do it that way again. But I think it's interesting that we all have these like different ways to make it, and everybody judges you. Like, I'm sure we're going to get judged, like when the people are watching, like, oh, you're a bunch of hacks. If you don't use clarified butter or, like, what? That's not the Marriott recipe. Right. Oh, dude.
For sure.
We call each other out like nonstop.
For sure.
Like, we don't hold any punches.
None.
Like, you better be careful.
Yeah.
This episode's going to come out and they're going to be like, you don't know how to make hollandaise, biatch? Like, no, it's not fair. So you were there how long?
About 3 years.
Good job.
Yeah,
you didn't bounce around quick.
No, I didn't. I've actually stayed at my jobs for about 2 years plus.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I try
totally
to learn the most I can, and
that's totally respectable. You actually stayed at most of your jobs early on in the career longer than me.
But like I said, I always had those side ones.
Okay.
So I always had side gigs here and there, but
so you'd work your 40 and then you'd pick up another. How many hours on average did you work?
Man, well, it was about 40 hours, and then on my days off, I'd pick up a shift or two.
Jesus. And that's just normal.
Normal.
That's just how we do it.
And the guys too. My line cooks all have 2 jobs.
How many line cooks do you have?
I have all my cooks pretty much have 2 jobs.
Right.
Yeah. There's 18 of them, and they all have, for the most part, 95% have 2 jobs.
I think that's. I mean,
always since I started my career, it's always been people. The cooks always have 2 jobs.
You go and get the chef job, so you don't have to go to another place to work, but you still work the same amount of hours. Exactly. It's like, okay, all right, I'm going to drive into another place to get that other, what you're making 30 or 28, and then you're like, I need to make another 28 so I can make that 52.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, man, if I can just get that 52 and be the chef, then I know I'm going to work the same amount of hours, but it's always going to be there.
Right there.
And I only have to go to this place, and I can, you get
drive around.
I don't have to drive. But damn, still
the same.
It's still the same. You still working them hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many hours do you work a week now?
It varies. It's slow. We're right across the street from the Seeger Storm Theater.
Okay.
So a lot of our business for the restaurant comes through that theater. So when it's busy, I'm there 10 to 12 hours, 5-6 days a week.
Whoa.
When it's not, then I'm 8 to 10 hours.
Okay,
it's not bad,
Yeah,
I have a strong team behind me. If it wasn't for them, then I'd be stuck there. But I have a strong team.
You're only as good as your team. And it's like my first restaurant job, that's when I learned that. When it was just me and my buddy that put up with my bullshit, and then the other chef and his buddy that put up with his bullshit, and we're all just standing there like putting
up with everybody's bullshit.
Yeah, and we're like, where'd everybody go? And they're like, well, you guys are kind of assholes. And we're like, oh, okay. And like, if you could be nicer to people, maybe they wouldn't quit. And I was like,
Yeah,
I need to work on that.
Yeah, can't.
And you can't.
It's part of it.
Yeah, I actually, but I was kind of I was an ass. I was an ass. I love guys that, you seem very relaxed and chill. So it was always like, cool. Yeah. Okay. I need you to do this. Now, do you watch Food Channel or Top Chef or anything like that?
Sometimes. I don't hop on those channels too much.
Okay. Do you watch Chef's Table or Ugly Delicious or any of that?
Yeah, I can't focus too much on TV. It's just kind of like on the books. So I've watched episodes of Ugly Delicious.
Okay, because I haven't watched it yet. Did you like it?
It's cool.
Ugly
I've seen
Delicious?
only two episodes.
2 episodes?
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of TV either. I'm always trying to do something like, a podcast or something crazy.
I follow sports on my phone real quick just to keep up with like the day basis, but
okay, what's your sport that you follow the most?
basketball.
Okay, who's your team?
The Clippers.
The Clippers. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I still play basketball.
Okay.
I still manage to get
So that's your hobby. So what kind of hobbies do you have?
basketball, my family.
Basketball and family and work.
And work.
Simple.
That's it.
Sometimes at least you're fitting it in.
Yeah.
That's the toughest part. Do you how many times a week do you play basketball?
Once I try to get 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so you're still pretty healthy?
I would say so, yeah.
That's good because
I think that's a big part of it. If you're working long hours, you have to stay healthy. You have to.
Dude, yeah.
My wife's pregnant right now, so I'm getting a little bit of weight,
Okay, so pregnant now, and you have a son.
A 5-year-old.
5-year-old.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see what happens, good things to come.
Yeah, very good things to come. And I think you're in a good spot because you're at the 30, you got the 5-year-old and the chef. There might be some practices you miss, but you might be able to get out and see a game.
For sure.
That's the kind of stuff that that's the toughest part is like what you might miss or not miss. Now, where do you get your inspiration to like make your dishes or just in life general?
My family, they inspire me for sure. They make me keep pushing forward always.
Now, is that your dad, your mom, or your wife?
My wife, my son, my mom, my dad, my brothers.
So how many brothers do you have?
I have 3.
3. So you're four kids all day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's more, but
there's cousins and stuff.
My dad.
How many does your dad have?
There's like 7 of them.
Okay.
7, 8, yeah.
So are these cousins or brothers and sisters? Half brothers.
Half brothers, half sisters. Yeah.
So when you guys get together, it's a huge party or like a huge family.
Yeah.
My wife is
huge family, including cousins. It gets crazy.
Yeah, in my family we have like 23 grandkids on like my wife's side. So my father-in-law has like an enormous amount of grandkids, but I love that.
It's a beautiful thing when they get together.
Yeah, it's fun when we all get together,
Definitely.
and a little weird sometimes.
Yeah,
because somebody's always going to get upset.
Always, always, yeah.
And then it's like, who's not going to get upset? So you don't watch a lot of TV. You still play basketball. You like to work out and by playing basketball.
By playing basketball. And as far as food inspiration, I just like fresh product. Fresh product. That's what just let the product shine. I try not to do too much with the product.
Okay.
Just let it be.
Now, when you have like a dish and you guys are running a special, when you say fresh product, do you lean towards seafood? Do you lean towards beef? Like if you're going to make a dish?
Okay, I
like
seafood.
Seafood.
I like seafood a lot for sure.
Okay.
Fishes, like scallop.
Okay.
That's what I like to cook. Beef, I change it up. I change it up. Pastas, I change it all up for sure.
Now, you guys are open for lunch and dinner?
Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Okay.
Breakfast and room service if you want to include that.
Yeah, you have to include that because you always that always sneaks
24/7. We never close.
It sneaks up and bites you in the butt. You're like the room service guy. Like you get called at midnight. Hey, room service didn't show up. In the car, heading in.
You didn't knock 2 times and say good morning, good evening.
Now,
but that's part of what we do to keep our clientele and our guests. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we have to. It's just a standard. We have to follow just because it's what we need to do and we're professionals about it.
Well, I mean, I think that that place has a really good reputation, and you've been there how many years now?
Going on 5, and as exec 2.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you saw it, you grew into the position,
Grew,
and it's
yeah.
yours now.
Carlos brought me over
So how did you meet Carlos?
downtown at the Los Angeles Brewing Company.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's right. He was he was there.
Yeah, I was working at Perch at the time, and went there, got hired with him, and stayed with him. You know,
Carlos is a good guy.
good guy.
Now, as far as if you had an opportunity to talk to any of the teachers or mentors that you've had, and you got the chance to say thank you, which one of those teachers or mentors would you say thank you to?
In a professional, Ben Udave and Carlos Garcia.
Okay, who's Ben?
Chef Ben. He's now the corporate chef at Cisco, but he was a chef at the Jonathan Club and at Perch. But the way he works is for sure taught me a lot.
Nice.
Kept me in line. I was like,
do you still talk to him?
I was like, nah, Ben wouldn't do that shit.
I was like, you check it. You check it like that. You check it like that.
And
That's
Carlos
awesome.
has taught me the other way, you know, the financial way.
Yes.
Which
He's
both worlds, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you've had some good leaders in
For
your
sure. I've been lucky to run into these guys.
Well, I mean, they've worked with a lot of people too, though.
For
you
sure.
know,
So
that
they could say the same.
They could say the same because I think it's interesting, like who you work for and how they take you for, like, they're like, man, this kid's got potential, or this kid, I see something. And I can't say what, like, I've got a group of people that I care deeply about that work with me at the Honda Center, right? And then, you know, they still, like, they don't work there anymore, but they still text me. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, chef, we're going to be going, you know, Santi, he's like, I'm bouncing to Vegas, man. And this is what I'm going to do. And I got my
Heads
boy,
up.
you know, he's like, just let me know if you know anybody in Vegas, or, you know,
Okay.
and you know, you cover those people because they covered your 6 for so long. And it's like, you have to take care of your team.
You have to.
And, if you were able to put together, would you like to work with Ben and those guys? Did you talk to them still?
Yeah.
Would you do they come by and see you at the restaurant?
I talk to him all the time. Carlos does visit.
Okay.
And with Ben, we do.
Now, do you still? Now he's at Cisco, so like, is Cisco one of your accounts?
Yeah,
like,
but
do you
before him too.
Before him, okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's for you in the horizon? What would be like your dream job? Staying at where you're at, or what do you see more?
I would like to explore my own restaurant and then try that route eventually.
Okay.
I would.
What would you like? Okay, I'm digging in now.
Okay.
What would you make at the restaurant? Is it your food, your family food? Is it like, what is it?
My food with just California ingredients, nothing but California cuisine.
How many seats?
42 to 50. Small.
Boom, small. You know,
Small.
there was a guy. It was my first shift drink that I did, and it was a little bit longer, but I went into a lot of different articles and stuff. And he was in, I don't remember what city. It was like it was in Europe somewhere, and he did a 5-course meal for 15 people.
Okay.
He was closed Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday through Sunday, he did a 5-course for 15 people. And it was 3-star Michelin type food because he had worked in 3-star places. And he was the only employee.
Killing it.
He did. And like they covered like the head count, like it was $125 or $150 for the coursed meal. And they served their own wine. And he had set up the restaurant where he did the prep, he did everything. And washed the dishes. Everything. And I was like, I started doing the math, and I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, okay, that's kind of ingenious.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's what started. That's why I got in the business. I wanted my own place. Okay. I still sometimes I'm like, like, do I do it? Do I do it? Now, you think you're gonna do it? Or are you gonna?
I think I think it's just not the right time.
Right.
It's everything's to me. It's timing. The right time will come, and when it comes, I'm definitely gonna hop on it. But
yeah, it's such
no rush to it. I'm not rushing to it. I'm at a good place right now. I love my job.
You got a good team.
And I'm still willing to go to other hotels once they open the other ones that they're working on. So it's something that I want to keep growing with the company.
Mm-hmm.
But if that right time comes, then the right time comes.
Yeah, I mean, I think every chef at one point or another is like, I want to do this for myself, right?
Just
Because
try it out.
I just want to try it.
Try it.
And that's
And
that's
it's hard having a family, but when she supports me and they support me, then
So how long have you been with your wife?
6 years.
Ooh, okay.
6 years.
So she's like, now what does she do?
She works in the food industry as well.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Aramark.
Okay.
We were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Where does she work?
At the what is that? Not E.C.O Beach. I don't remember what city that's in.
Oh, like
right next to E.C.O
like
Beach.
okay, like
Cypress.
a long Cypress. Okay,
Cypress right there.
and that's, I mean, that's a good.
It's like
That's a good gig.
Like a subsidy, tech company.
Hey, I mean, I got friends that.
But she's going to school, so that's just that job works with the schedule. So she's had it, and she's been in school for the past 4 years.
What is she going to school for?
Nursing.
Nursing.
Yeah, but being a mom, being
that's
wife,
with the
full-time
5
employee, everything.
Wow, you guys are a busy little family.
Yeah.
Plus, with your working,
Mm-hmm.
do you depend on your parents a lot?
No.
Your family? No, it's
No.
just you two handling the 5-year-old.
Everybody lives in North Hollywood. We live in Pico now,
Okay,
so we have nobody around us.
that's okay. So for those of you guys, and we'll try the oligosh now, right?
Okay, you ready?
Because are you ready for that? We got to taste it.
Yeah, we have to.
Okay, this one is your which one's your favorite? Oligosh or
I drink that one more.
Okay.
And this one.
Now this one.
When I'm not drinking these, I'm drinking Modelos.
Okay. Well, are negros or like
Especial.
especial? Because I'm a Dos Equis like especial guy.
Okay.
Like I like the Modelos too. So like this particular beer is from they do this. They're from Maine, and they actually age this in bourbon barrels for a couple of weeks, and it's 11% alcohol by volume. So these things they'll sneak up on you. Where's your cup? All right, and we're probably gonna have to do it a little dirty. I don't have a rinse. We're gonna have to go a little country on you, and I'll just let it kind of pour in there. Everybody's gonna bust my chops. I like to kind of pour it and let the beer form its head, and kind of get some of the gas out of it. I know everybody's like, you got to tilt it more, but when I was in Europe, they poured they did it like this, and they let the head come up and then just run over the side, and they're like, get over it. So 5-year-old baby on the way. How many months?
In July she'll be due. So 6, almost.
With my kids now, we don't have any babies. Our daughter's like 8, and my oldest we're looking at colleges, and
Nice.
we completely. This career that I chose has taken me in many different directions, but it always has been able to provide for us in a different way. Like it's paid the bills, whether good, bad, or different. It's always made the bills. Like we've managed somehow to make it happen.
If you dedicate yourself to it and put the hard work into it, it pays off. It definitely pays off. But yeah, I think you also have to have the right mindset to make the right decisions down the way.
If you had to, I like what you just said. If you have the right mindset to make the decisions down the way. If you were talking to yourself 10 years ago, or somebody that's just starting out, what would be your words of advice? Because really, the reason why I love having this thing on is because we all have these different stories and how we got into the business, and they're all connected in some way or another.
For sure.
But how would you you had a group of culinary students standing in front of you, and they're new cooks, or they're like green, they're hungry, or they're like, I want to do this, don't want to. What would you tell them if it was your time on the stage?
Don't be afraid to do overtime.
Do you feel like people are afraid to do overtime?
They don't want to do overtime no more. I used to beg for overtime.
Yeah, I thought we all did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my 8 hours is done. I'm out.
I want to go.
Don't be afraid to do overtime. That statement alone could be twisted in so many different ways. Overtime and learning, overtime and pushing yourself,
Anything.
overtime
Work.
and asking questions. Push yourself to work more than 8 hours a day.
You're done with one project, one task, go ask the next. If that one chef is done giving you a task, go to the next one.
We got cheers on that. You need to taste this one.
What do you think?
Yeah, this is. What do you think of that?
That's good stuff.
Man, that's clean.
Really good stuff.
Yes. No wonder that. I mean,
you get that bourbon, that barrel.
I get a little oak in the end, but I know that we went from this to that. But it's like it's got that sweet. Do you feel that sweet on the end of it? When you sent those, I was like, oh man. We used to. I was in Austria. We drank some of those, but Vosssteiner. We drank a lot of Vosssteiner. But this, I had never heard of this, and this is absolutely delicious.
Good
If
stuff.
you guys might want to check this one out. This is, I don't know, Curiel. Like definitely worth every penny. I'm really bad about beer.
Okay.
So I lived in Scotland for a little while, like over the summer and a half or so with a buddy of mine, and we drank a lot of high end beer because every beer poured was like in our mind back high end. And then I came back and I was a beer snob and I drank a lot of high end beers. And then one day, you know, it was like either at a hot summer day mowing the grass and I was like, God damn, all I want is just like a beat up Miller High Life or a Coors Light or just cold water beer, you know? And I drank a lot of that for a while. And now doing the Leave It on the Line.
You've been getting exposed.
Well, I mean, I guess I ask, I go, hey, what's your favorite drink? Like, what do you want to drink when we talk? And like, people will be like, oh, I like, I like pale ales. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I stepped away from the bitter and the pale ale like 10, 15 years ago when I was in my 20s. So that's almost 20 years ago now, JoJo. And now I'm like, I'm coming back to it and I'm like, oh yeah, I do like this.
Yeah.
So, but this is one of the finest ones we've had. Chimay was what we drank with.
Nice.
Yeah. It was Chef Chad was on the second or so episode. And you should check that one. That's a great episode. He talks about working for Jeremiah Towers at Stars in the 90s, in the late 80s, 90s, and it was just like at the peak of California cuisine. But telling students not to be afraid to work overtime. Do you have anything that you look back and I mean? You're almost a decade now. Like you're 13. I like where you're at in your spot because you're like, I'm like the old guy, you know. I'm the 43-year-old. There's some older guys, but I'm starting to open the door to the old G. I might be an OG, but I'm gonna be the OOG in a couple of years. But you're starting to get to be the G for sure. Like you're in your 30s. This is a young man's game. Do you find yourself living with any regret that you should have made a different decision or anything like that?
For a long time, I always told myself, damn, you never worked for a big name chef. You know, you never worked for celebrities. But I was like, I'm okay because the chefs I did work with taught me what I needed to know.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I didn't need, and I don't need a big name chef to back me. You know.
No, I think that I worked with guys that were super talented and they went to the Beard House, but I didn't get a chance to work with Daniel. You know, like a buddy of mine, Tad, he went and worked at Daniel's and West Palm when they opened in this hotel, and like he stayed there for years. So he he could go anywhere and work. And he's like, oh, I work for Chef Daniel Bouillard. Get down, you know. Yeah. I staged at Norman Van Aken's place in South Florida.
Okay.
And he was such a beast. There was like Norman Van Aken and Alan Susser and there's just all these chefs down there. But Norman was the guy in South Florida, and he was just his restaurant was super legit. You know, like I went in it, and like his herbs were in hay inside a cooler that was held at a completely different temperature. Like the fresh herbs were in hay. He's like, that makes it last longer. I'm like, what?
In hay.
And you got a whole cooler? Shit.
Did it work?
Like,
were they?
Yeah, like they was so like we were working. I'll never forget this. I wanted to work at this place so bad, but it was like so far away from the house, and all they paid was like $11 or something, right? And I needed to be making 12 or 13, and we're working, and everybody's like, "All right, stop." it's time to sweep the line. It's time for break. And all the cooks at like 4:30 stopped, went outside, and we took a 20-minute break. And the dishwashers came over, and they swept the line and wiped. You had wiped down your station. They swept everything, and they got it ready for service. And it was like a break, and it was expected.
Okay.
Like at all my other places that you were hustling so you could go get your break before the rush came. At this place, it was like, time to stop. We're going to have service in 45 minutes. It's time for us to go outside. We're going to talk about the menu a little bit, and we're going to take our break while they sweep our line and get ready for service. And, you know, there was a guy over there like slicing the garlic on the mandolin, and there's a guy like peeling the shallot, you know, like with the paring. And I was like, man, this is fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I was
structured
is tight. And then, you know, I went back to some other places, and it was like you and another guy, and you were like banging it out throughout the family meal. And then you got ready for service, but you were still probably standing on the chopped onion that fell on the floor from prep. Not here. And I was like, God damn. So like
everything was clean.
It was tight. It was tight. And you know, like I mean, I couldn't afford to work there, but I think I stodged there for a little while, and maybe 2 days, 3 days, maybe more. God, it was over 20 years ago. But it was like one of those places where you're like, holy shit, okay, all right.
You weren't even able to talk.
Yeah, no. And like I really hope I hope that I have one guy that I want to have come on, and he worked at El Bulli twice. He works with me at the Honda Center.
Okay.
I want to he's an elusive little guy. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to do it." But I really want him to come on because he's got the stories. So I didn't work for a big name chef. Yeah. I mean, and you didn't, but you're very comfortable with where you're at and what you're doing.
For sure.
And I think it's from hard work and grit that you've been able to kind of like maintain that. And it doesn't sound like really, if the only thing that you regret after 18 years in this business is the fact that you didn't work for a big name chef, I think that you've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Because I've got a lot of regrets that I've got in my closet of like, man, I could have gone there. I probably should have stayed there a little bit longer. I didn't do those people right. I made a lot of bad decisions. Where it was like, oh, I'm going to go here because it's, 25 more cents, and that's going to make the bills easier. I mean, it made me better in the long run, but I think that I could have handled it better. What's your favorite part about your job when you get up and you go to work?
Same thing as you, man. Same thing as you. Just the people going in, and I see my morning crew.
Yeah.
And they're all banging. Hey, good morning to everybody. I go, I shake everybody's hand, and then I get to work. But it's the initial contact with my crew, with the morning guys.
Yeah.
That's what are the things I love the most. Another is just I'm able to eat. I'm able to teach and show somebody, and hopefully develop somebody to be the chef. That's
the next generation. Do you have any concern for the next generation of cooks coming up, or do you feel like we're in a good spot?
I think we could be in a good spot. I think there's a lot of young cooks out there that want to learn and think they know it all, but I think if they vow a little bit and learn it, they could definitely take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Ego, maybe. A lot of ego flying around. Maybe if you tone down a little bit, with that ego will help you. But
do you feel like social media has helped the egos or hurt the egos?
Helped and hurt. I think it could go both ways.
Dig into that. Tell me a little bit more. What do you think?
I think if you're egotistical like that and you think you're the hot shit, and you go into a kitchen thinking you're the hot shit, and you're really not, then it's gonna hurt you. But if you just want to build that ego, and you have the ego, but you're still humble about it, that ego, the way you carry yourself, it's you can have an ego, but you got to know how to carry yourself.
Yeah,
and be respectful. Bottom line, respectful.
There's a big difference between being cocky and confident, right?
Yep.
And it kind of like you can mix them up a little bit, and I think that's the tough part because I'm extremely. I definitely have an ego, right? But I definitely have a certain amount of confidence.
For sure.
Because you got 18 people that are looking at you when you walk through the door, plus your servers, plus every guest that are expecting you to make sure that the food is safe and good.
And good.
And that's
on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
Even when I'm not there.
Right. Okay. Wait, I'm responsible for it when I'm not
there?
there?
I could be on vacation. It's still my fault.
Mm-hmm. Like, you're chained to it. You're chained to your reputation.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing that you're only as good as your word, or you're only as good as your reputation inside our business, right? Mm-hmm. And you can burn bridges and jump ships and do all these things, but sooner or later, I think
it
catches up. You're going to pay the price. Now, one of my favorite, this particular question is always kind of like an interesting one. All right. You have the opportunity to have dinner with any chef in the history of the world, like alive or dead, in any restaurant that's open or closed. Can you tell me what chef you would have dinner with?
Okay.
And then at what restaurant would you have dinner with them at?
I'd probably do Thomas Keller, and I wouldn't even want a restaurant. I'd probably have him do it at his house or something.
Oh, is he cooking?
Yeah, I would have him cook.
Oh, shit.
Have him
double
cook.
entendre.
Yeah,
you're like, you're making dinner for me and with me.
And we're going to fucking...
What? What makes you want to have dinner with Thomas Keller?
I think what he's done for his name and the food and his brand, I think it's the shit.
So I'm kind of dumbfounded. Well, I'm not dumbfounded that you said that, but I've said, I don't know if, did you watch my other shows? Like that book. Okay. So I was in culinary school, and one of my mentors at school, she like really took me under her wing. She was amazing. And, Chef Brandenburg was awesome. Chef Nova, but Patricia Wilson was someone that really kind of was like, hey, you've got, look at this. You could do this, you could do that. She brought in the French Laundry cookbook, right? And she's like, here's some cookbooks. This is a really, I opened it.
It's a good book.
Yeah, it was a total downplay. But when I opened it, it changed everything for me. Like, I still remember the picture of the pineapple chop, where there's a pineapple that's cut like a pork chop, and it's like on the thing, and it's like just cut out a different way. I remember seeing like the egg that had the perfectly cut cylinder out of the top of it, and they put custard in it. And I was like, I never knew you could do that. And it just like like my mind exploded when I saw that book. And it was the first time when I was like, because I was really struggling. I had already gone to like the C4, like I was kind of like out of the associate's degree, and I knew how to cook, but like I hadn't found my style.
Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't found because when you say like, oh, like I like to make, it'd be my food. You know what your food is 100%.
Yes.
Okay. Like, it might not come off when you say my food, but in your brain, in your head, you're like,
together,
this is the way I like to brulee the cauliflower, and I'm going to slice it this way, and I'm going to lay it next to that piece of scallop, and then it's going to be golden raisins and a little balsamic vinegar. And
you don't want to label it, really.
Like, you don't want to label it, right? When I was in culinary school, I felt like everything had been labeled, and I didn't know how I was going to build it. I didn't know how I was going to move that rock with the people,
Yeah.
And I was like, when I saw that book, I realized that for some reason that the pictures, everything, I was like, I don't have to make like coq au vin or veal, like chicken piccata.
The traditional.
Yeah, I don't have to be traditional.
No.
I can take a chicken piccata recipe and I can put it on this, or I can bread this that way, or I can flip it this way. And for some reason, it's almost, I think I had just enough experience, just enough time to kind of all of it to fall. Mm-hmm. But Thomas Keller is one of my all-time
favorites.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Like the guy that I buy spices from Le Sanctuaire at the Honda Center.
Okay.
And Thomas Keller buys all his spices from Le Sanctuaire. And Alex, one day I'm going to get your ass on this podcast. I know I got to play ping pong with you, but he's like a third generation spice dealer, and like he only gets these greatest things. But like,
and they're based out of.
Oh, they're here. They're out of Irvine, and they have a place in San Francisco. But he sells to like everybody. That's anybody, right? So Alex is like, oh, my pepper, he's like, Thomas Keller, it's like buys his stuff because he knows that the standard is here. It's not like a little bit below.
No, it's
gold. It's gold. And when I met with Alex the first time, he's like, well, it sets up our standard. For you to say Thomas Keller, it's like my standard's this.
Now your standards are like his. It's not more now. You have to deliver.
I don't know. That guy is so. What he's done in the last 8-10 years, because you started cooking in 2005.
05, yeah.
So I started cooking about 8 years before you.
Okay.
So I was in 98, 99, started like really cooking, right? I watched tapes of Bocuse d'Or, right? Like the competition in France. And we never really placed. We were trying, but like the competition I loved, right? Now with what Thomas has done with Daniel Bouillard and like the B2B Foundation, and like we won. You know what I mean?
Yes, true.
And I don't think we would have done that without Thomas Keller.
No.
And like his
pioneer.
Right?
For sure.
So like I've never thought about I love the fact that you put him to work though. That's kind of nasty at the same time. You're like, we're going to have dinner, but you're cooking.
Yeah. It should be the other way around for sure.
Right? You're like,
you're
like, hey, let me cook for you and let's talk. And you're going to be at his house.
If I'm going to have that opportunity to have dinner with him like that, I'm going to.
What kind of questions would you ask him?
Good man. What would I do with his inspiration? I'm sure he's been asked that millions of times,
Right.
But I'd ask him for that, and what he would have done different. Other than that, I don't know. I've never been starstruck, but I think I'd probably be starstruck.
I'd lose it. It's funny. I've stood next to Jay-Z and Beyonce. I cut cake and gave it to Beyonce, and like, I've seen like major stars,
names,
Shaq, you name it, right? I lost my shit over some UFC fighters about 2 years ago. Like, Big Nog was in, and like Robbie Lawler, and I'm like, are you fighting tonight? It's just I'd probably lose my mind if I like saw Joe Rogan or Tom Segura. I'd lose my shit. But Thomas Keller, I would be getting fired.
Yeah.
Like, so we have a rule at the Honda Center, right?
Okay.
Like, so we have all these celebrities, stars, everybody comes, right? Like, they roll through because they're doing a concert, right? I really don't care. Honestly, I mean, like we have Elton John coming, or like Pink's gonna be there, and I'm like, okay, cool. That's so cool, dude. Thomas Keller.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
You wouldn't.
I do have to admit that when John Jones and DC fought at the Honda Center last summer, I was on our road trip, but now UFC is a huge event for us. Like it's like so big. I had to fly back because it would be my first UFC. As being the chef there. I flew back and did the event, and it was amazing. But it was Dana White's birthday.
Oh, I could only imagine.
Dude, I lost. I was kind of like, hey, wow. So like that kind of stuff. It's like, I mean, Dana White. I saw John Jones and the DC like very up close. I didn't get a chance to see Rogan, which would have been a huge thing for me. But I don't know what I do. Like, I volunteer at, I do some teaching at Culinary Lab in Tustin, which is a new culinary school, and they're doing a phenomenal job. So if you ever need any workers or students, you got to go there, right?
Okay.
So there's a young lady that works that's at the student there, and she works at the Montage, and I'm fixing to blow your mind right now, right?
Yeah.
So we become friends. Like, I'm friends with all of them on Facebook, right? And that's how we keep up at like what class we're going to do and things like that. She has a picture, and it's with Thomas Keller, Daniel Bouillard, and then Gavin Kaysen. That was on the team 4 years before this one, the one that got silver.
Okay.
I think it was silver. And like 3 other chefs. She has a copy.
A picture with all of them.
They came and did a dinner at the Montage. And she's like, It'd be like you and I having this drink right now, and we're all just chilling. Oh, you guys
Like that?
Like if we want to, we would. Okay, we're done filming the podcast. Let's go in and make some breakfast because I want you to eat before you go. And it's Thomas Keller and Daniel Blue.
Man.
Like she's elbow to elbow with them. I'm like, I've lost.
Yeah,
Like,
that's,
are you serious? Like,
you frame that one.
I'm jealous.
You're gonna frame that.
Like I've seen all these other people. I'm like,
but that
George Bush. I took care of him, made him dinner, like the senior George Bush.
Okay.
Like at Ryder Cup, right? Guess what? I'd rather be standing next to Thomas Cup.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like God.
Yeah.
So I love
those are icons in what we do. You know.
Yeah, I think so. Now, do you get any more old school? Did you watch cooking shows when you were growing up at all?
With my mom.
What did she watch?
It wasn't really cooking shows. It'd be just like on the news when they'd do recipes, and then she'd watch the Food Network. But
dude, see, like I grew up on the OG Food Network, so it was like really.
So I'm talking about maybe like 01 to 05. That's when she was watching it.
Did you ever watch the original Iron Chef, the one from Japan?
With I didn't.
With Morimoto and the guys from that's.
But you know what? I don't remember it, but I remember it coming out. I didn't watch it, but I remember it. Coming out.
That was because like I love the different times that we're coming up because you're really. Carlos did a great job because you're really the chef that's almost right behind me. Right, because you're like the full chef. The full chef. Because you're 18 years in.
Not 18.
No, wait, I'm 18. You're 15? Or
12, 13.
12, 13. So you're 5 years, which is really what it takes to. That's that gap, right? I think if you had to break down the gaps between our generations for chefs, 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
So I think it's interesting because I think Chad's been cooking about 5 or 6 years longer than me.
Okay.
So
there's that gap.
Right. And then some of the guys that I've worked for, they're, man, like I'm at 18. I think Ronnie started cooking when he was 16. I think he's been doing it for 30 years. He's like 54. Okay. So he's got a decade on me.
Yeah. That's 2.
That's 2. So he's got 2 generations behind him. Yeah. If you were to leave a legacy behind as being a chef, right? Like what you were known for.
Okay.
This is like everybody's getting together and you've moved on. I don't know if you've crossed over and you're like you've dead. Or you just maybe you stopped cooking, or you're not in there.
Retired.
It's legacy time. What do you want to be known for?
For caring for my staff and showing them how to do it right,
Yeah.
Caring for my staff, just that that's my family. That's my family outside of my other family. I spend more time with them than I do with my family. So that's just know that I was always a caring chef for my people, and quality of life is also quality of work. It's got to be just for them to know that.
Boom.
That's it.
Just like that.
Like that.
Okay, so, dude, I don't think I can really come back from that because it's the same thing that I want. And then, like, just recently I was talking to a chef, and I think I talked to Carlos about it. All I want now, I don't need to be, like, when I set out, I wanted to be, like, famous. I wanted cookbooks. I wanted restaurants. I wanted TV shows. I wanted rockets with my name on. Yeah. Now I don't care, man. You know what I want? I want a group of people and a group of chefs that are like, that guy cared about our business and he cared about us.
Exactly.
And he cared about his team.
The relationship.
The relationship. It's because I got here, by hard work, determination, and a lot of grit, right?
For sure. But
not without some people that have supported, from Ronnie, Jonathan, like all these chefs. So like if you had to for my I guess timeline, it would be John Nicely, Phil Bucco, Ron Kurvasek, Gil Logan, Donna Hunter. These are all people that work with me that changed my life. Sam Carlson, Carlos Fernandez. I'm just like going through Devlin, and then Brandenburg to Nova. These are all people from culinary school. And then when the people that and I started to grow, and I got my chef spot. And I want you to Brandenburg to Nova, Wilson, Howard, Davis, all these people. We just recently lost the guy that did the purchasing program. I have to try to remember his name, but and then I branched out, and then I worked for an awesome guy named Devlin. Then I worked for a baker named Andre from Switzerland, right? And then I found myself working for Pierre Jourdain, and Intercontinental was like my first job in a pastry department. And then I bounced out. And what's really funny is that like Gil Logan gave a speech at my school that Ronald, my best bud, went and worked for Gil, and then I ended up working for Gil, and Gil taught me a lot and beat me up a lot, and I ended up getting his job after he left Churchill, and then Ronnie took me under his wing. But I wouldn't have had that job if I didn't talk to John Nicely, who then talked to that Phil Bucco, and Phil Bucco hired me, and then we bounced over, and then I get this job at Churchill, and I've got Donna Hunter, who's now running the Yum Center, and then, my boy Matt, and then Shannon, all these group of people, and then Sam Carlson and Emily, and, all these guys that just totally, and girls and women and like people that supported me in these different aspects. Byrne, and I can't forget Byrne, our Igor Kraninsky, Chefs 24/7. Shout out Igor. He's got like 100,000 followers on Instagram. Or some crazy shit like that. But the Mad Russian, and we all did it, and Karen and Daniel and Alex. So there's all these key figures, right?
Yeah. That have inspired you.
Right.
For sure.
So if you had to do that exercise, those names, this is like you leaving it on the line.
I wish I had a list like you.
I think it's because, this is like my 8th one.
Okay.
Like who would, you said thanks to Ben and Carlos.
Yeah.
You said thanks to your parents and your dad and your wife. Who else would you say thanks to?
All those line cooks that have taught me everything I know, because those are the guys. It's too many to name. I've worked with many of them, and I've learned from every single one of them something.
Right?
It's just the willingness of them giving you their knowledge. You know what I mean? It's something that I've taken from most of the cooks I've ever worked with, for sure.
That's beautiful. Okay. So that's like my major question to ramble through, like names and stuff like that. Think about that when you get an opportunity, because it's a crazy exercise, especially. Now, this last
like 30 of them.
Well, I mean, this is also.
I'm sure I have a list like that too. If I go down my name,
Yeah, I just started thinking about it as you were dropping it, because when you drop that thing about family and leaving that legacy as a family, that hit me. Well, it's because it's funny, because you're like Thomas Keller, and I'm like, dude, I love Thomas Keller. And like for us to sit down and talk, it's been really awesome. I'd love to have you back on to kind of follow up in the next couple of months.
I would love to.
So the last part to leave it on the line, I know we have a little bit. We can finish that up in a minute. You get one opportunity to say something to that next generation of chefs right there at the camera. Okay. All I want you to do is leave it on the line and tell them what you would want to tell them if you had that stage opportunity.
Work hard, don't give up, and everything that you try to do, don't be afraid to think outside the box, because it'll take you to the next level.
Boom. Man, I tell you what, Hector, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
It was awesome. Guys, it's been another fantastic episode of Leave It on the Line. And I tell you what, I know I get excited at these things, and you guys kind of put up with me rambling with my stories, but it's what we do here. If you guys can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter, we will be there. And until next time, cheers.